Welcome folks, this is Everyone Loves Pirates, and today I'm going to show you this game I bought called Space Engineers. It's on early access on Steam. I've been following it for a while. It's basically like Minecraft in space, but it's got a lot of really cool stuff in it, that stuff I'd always kind of wish Minecraft would do. As you can watch in the background here, you can see things can get deformed, they can shoot off into space. Um, you're not just having blocks that either exist or don't, but they have different levels of damage and all sorts of cool stuff, different levels of construction as well, thresholds of whether they work or not. But yeah, this game's been on early access for probably about about I think like 8 months now. Excuse me, and they just reached 500,000 sold, and it's been kind of cool because every week, at least recently, every Thursday, I believe it is, they've been doing an update that's been adding functionality. So the game has quite a lot of functionality now. It has survival mode, it has multiplayer, it has creative mode, obviously. But this most recent one, they added some stuff and then said from now on we're going to work mostly on bug fixes and just making it more efficient. Have it work better. So figure, you know what, it's a pretty good time to come in. Even if they never fix anything past this point, I feel like it's probably worth the money. So what I'm going to do in this video, it's not going to be super long or detailed. I'm not going to do survival right away because it takes a long time. It's very realistic. But I'm going to show you just some real quick creative stuff. And once again, check it out on Steam. Watch some videos, the developer videos or other videos of people playing it on YouTube. It's a really cool game. So let's just start with a new world. I'll show you some of the custom options. One of the first thing is you have a lot of different scenarios you can start with. So you can have some ships already around or a whole base already around, different asteroid stuff, or even completely empty. A crash ship, which when I do survival, and I've just been playing around with creative so far just to get used to controls and stuff and learn how to build things before it actually costs me resources to do that. But you got a crash ship. So basically, you were flying this ship, let's say, role play. You crash into an asteroid, and now you have to survive. So I think that's really cool, and that's probably the one I will do when I start survival after this video, probably. Well, let's just start with Lone Survivor because there's not a whole lot there, and I'll probably start by showing you how to build a quick little mining ship. You can see kind of what the game's like. So you do choose between survival and creative, and you do have different kind of levels of survival right now. You can get larger inventory size, better efficiency for your assembler, making things, better speed for the refinery, so turning the ore into metals that you can use to make things. One thing they need to add, hopefully soon, is a way to speed up actually building things. So you have the materials, you designate a block to be built, and then you have to weld it. And it actually takes a while, much probably quicker than in real life still, but it is a bit of a barrier to entry on survival. It'd be great if they had like a 10 times build speed or a 3 times build speed option as well. But we're going to do creative. They do have online as well. I can't wait to try this, but I don't know if any of my friends are going to get this game. I hope they would, but they tend to not have very good computers, and I don't have a great computer, but it's good enough to play this game, whereas other people just tend to have laptops nowadays, and it's very sad. So when they first added multiplayer, you couldn't change an offline game to an online game. So if you built something, you wouldn't be able to show it to somebody. So they recommended using private. I don't know if that's still the case, but I assume it probably is. So there's really no reason not to just have a private server. And then you can change it to allowing people later if you want to. And if you don't, you don't. That's fine. You'll never know the difference. It should run just the same as offline. So you can change the max number of players. What does it go up to? 16. Okay. And max objects is basically anything that's floating around in the world, not something you've built, but like ore that's been mined, anything in your inventory that you've dropped, let's say. Those things. So like it says ore, ingots, components. It has to keep track of all those. It's rotational speed, where it's, because it's space, right? So it's flying around and all that kind of stuff. So that can be pretty processor intensive. I've been playing around with it at 100 or so. I'm going to drop it down I doubt we'll have a whole lot anyways. I'll drop it down to like there. Once again, my computer is not great, and my recording software not only records, but it also it's compressing it. It's oh, I'm tired and my brain's not working anymore. It's encoding it as it's recording, so it's already, as I'm recording, as I'm playing the game, it's using more processor and GPU power to to encode the recording at the exact same time. So I'm pushing my poor little computer a little bit. So I'm going to keep that down. Environmental hostility, you can have meteors that come in, and we won't worry with that right now. Asteroid amount, basically you're in the middle of space, and it's going to more or less, it's not really procedural yet, but the asteroids are kind of procedural, like their components and maybe shape and stuff are procedural, but you are kind of choosing how many are there. And as you can see, you get the large ones, which are pretty neat, and then you get some small ones as well. So 4 large, 20 small is plenty for one person on survival, or probably even like 2 or 3 people on multiplayer. You can maybe 4. You can each grab a large asteroid and use that as like a base, or you can build, space stations out in the middle of nowhere too. But obviously, the more you have, the harder it is on the computer. So we'll just do 4. Auto healing has to do with survival mode, which we're not playing, but your guy does get hurt. You can enable copy and pasting while you're in creative mode, so you can build something, a ship or whatever, and completely copy and paste the whole extra copy of it. Auto saving is great. It's every 5 minutes. It'd be great if you change the duration there, which I'm sure will be in a future update. I'm going to turn it off for this because it does lag quite a bit as it saves, so don't want to annoy you guys. I'll leave weapons enabled just to show you what weapons are like. We end up building something with weapons. But if you did have a multiplayer server and you didn't want people, shooting each other up, you can turn that off. You can turn it back on later, so on and so forth. Player names for multiplayer floating above your head. Thruster damage, one of those cool things where you shoot your thrusters off too close to blocks that can't deal with that level of heat. They're gonna warp and deform and eventually get burnt through. So neat stuff. And they also added cargo ships fairly recently, if I remember correctly. So you can have other ships flying around, mining ships, cargo ships, military ships. And that gives you an option in survival if you don't want to have to build everything from scratch. If you don't mind being a little bit of a pirate, everyone loves pirates, you can maybe build enough to go hijack a ship or 2 and kind of steal some of their supplies. So I think that's pretty neat, and I'll definitely use that when I do my survival thing, probably quite a bit. But yeah, here. So it's going to create that. It won't take too long because we didn't choose a very difficult scenario. And there we go. This is what we got. We got our little landing pad. Use my jetpack to fly around. This is what it looks like in third person. So this is our home right now. There's a large asteroid. You can see, the backdrop's kind of like a painting, more or less. So none of that stuff you can get to right now, if ever. But the stuff that's more in the foreground here, like those are actually asteroids. And I'm running at a fairly low, actually I believe the lowest texture quality. Oops. I didn't mean to change the field view. So yeah, I'm at the lowest texture quality just once again for recording purposes. I was playing with high, and that's going to deal a lot more with your distance view and stuff like that. I'm also at 720 to help with recording as well. I do have VSync on, which will help with the tearing a little bit. Just cancel. There we go. So I apologize, it's not the best quality recording out there. Don't use that to determine the overall quality of this game. So I don't like third person very much, but we do have some things here. We got a refinery that refines ore into metal. We have a assembler that'll build stuff. We have a nuclear reactor powering the station. Any block that's touching the reactor conveys power, which is good. You got a medical station, which is where you can heal up. You can recharge your suit, I believe, from there, also from cockpits. And it ends up being a spawn point if it's one that you've built. It's coded to your player. We got a gravity generator here, which allows us to walk around on the surface. Once we get far enough away from the gravity generator, we lose gravity because we're in space. We would float around. And there's a cockpit, even though this is kind of a station, it allows you to jump in and kind of just quickly deal with some control panel stuff. So here's where you can change how, the width of the gravity field, how much gravity there is. You can throw stuff off the surface by turning it negative. All that kind of cool stuff. You can turn landing gear on and off, mess around with the refinery stuff. You can choose production for the assembler. You can do that here. You can do that basically anything that's connected. So here, I could change all the same stuff except for actually pilot from like this control panel here. Same stuff. I can check inventory and do all that stuff. So, let's build something. I'll build a really quick mining ship. Try not to spend too much time. I know it's already been 10 minutes. And it does take a little while to build. So let's start with a new small ship. There we go. And let's just start putting some blocks on it. And you can see, even with creative mode, it can take a while to do something, especially if you're flying around. Now you think, okay, well, it's a spaceship. I'm interested in aesthetics. What if I want to make something that's completely symmetrical? Should I only have to build half of it? And that would actually be the case. You should only have to build half of it, and they've dealt with that. So let's see what that's about. So I'm going to turn off my jetpack real quick. And so if I hit M while I'm on a construction, you can see we have this plane here. Actually, I'm going to use my jetpack again. So we can do it down the middle, so everything would be odd, or we can go along the side so that it would be even as it's mirrored. And you can also do it in any direction. But we want middle because my cockpit is 3 wide, so we want it to be odd links, and we want to mirror it on this plane where the red is. So we will do that. So now, anything we build right in the middle will be on the middle. However, if let's say here, now see it's building both sides at once, which makes for much, much, much quicker build, obviously. So, let's see. And then we do have quite a lot of different shape blocks, not a ton, but we have some slopes, we have some corners and inverted corners. We have light armor, heavy armor. Heavy armor has a lot more mass and requires a lot more components, which the more mass you have, the more power and more engines you need to get that up to speed and all that kind of stuff. So we're just doing light armor because we don't really need the armor. This is a mining ship. So we can rotate everything and do all that stuff. So what we need for a mining ship, besides armor, is we need drills. So there's a drill. And let's see what else I'm going to want. So we have our reactor, we have thrusters, we have the gyroscope, which allows us to pivot. Well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of stuff, but I'll do it as it comes along. So we're going to need to build out a little bit for this, probably. And let's rotate that. Well, actually drills can be slightly annoying. Let's get rid of that there. Do it like that instead. Yeah, it needs to be that far away. Actually, there's some options there, but we're not going to get into it too much because I can take forever building stuff. So there's our deals. Actually, let's do this. There we go. So the interesting thing about drills, as they drill, they collect ore and they collect rock. Now, one of the interesting things about that is that the drills have a certain amount of storage, and we can look at that here. Now, we're in creative mode, so the storage limits don't really apply. But you can see each one can store, 13,500 liters, I guess. It's kind of weird to measure rocks in liters, probably. But, so you can do that. However, one of the cool things they've added is conveyor systems. So we can have onboard storage. Let's say you have a small cargo container, we can end up with a medium one. They all hold different amounts of stuff. But we can use stuff like these conveyors. So we have a conveyor there and a conveyor tube there. Now, the conveyor basically just allows, this conveyor block allows us to put in joints. So we could connect things with tubes and just have like one conveyor in the middle, I think. You may not even need a conveyor block at all, but I think you do need at least one. But this also allows us to connect them together and take turns and stuff like that. So what I can do is I can kind of send this, oops, I need to do that. Very Minecrafty, always putting blocks where I don't want to. So I'm impatient. Yeah, a big one right over there. Okay. So I can plan ahead and be like, okay, I want this going through the center of the ship, and then have a small little, have a little container in the back that I can access very easily. But actually, there's a few other cool blocks. I want to be able to use those. So instead, what I'm going to do is we're going to not build out right now all that, but we're going to add this other stuff we need. So we need some reactors. I still haven't figured out what the best number is on some of this stuff. But since it's creative, we can make as many as we want. It doesn't really matter. Just adding mass, but reactors, yeah, that's fine. So I have 2 gyroscopes, which could end up being overkill, but it doesn't really matter to me. And, you know, we could leave it hollow or we can fill this out. Just depends on what you like to do. Actually, let's throw that one there. And then actually, I'm going to need to. So my thought process is, what if we want a large cargo thing? So the small one, we don't need those anymore. So a small cargo container is just that big. Ah, the wrong button. I do that all the time. So let's look in it if we can, and so it only carries 125 liters. And maybe these drill limits are a lot higher because we're creative. It seems awfully high, but maybe not. Or maybe it's changed recently. We also have, so this is a medium one, which is actually quite big. And we can look into it here, and it can hold 8,000, which is a lot more. So I'm going to want to do that. I'm probably going to want to put it right there. But before I do that, let's put a conveyor there and a tube there. So what it's going to do, I'm going to put one more reactor. I feel like 3 is a good number. Of course, I got them right behind where I'm sitting. If this is a fighter, you might not want that because they might blow up quite largely if you ended up getting hit and your armor was gone. So let's, now as you can see, that little yellow part in the middle of the container is where things connect to, and there's one on each side. So if we put it there, it's connected now to that conveyor that we put in the middle. That pipe goes up. So now the drills are connected to this large storage container. Actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm kind of... Once again, I can spend forever building stuff, and will. The other way to do this, which might be even better, put in our... No, let's do 4. Okay. Is if we do that, but instead let's flip it down. Right? So now the opening's on the top and the bottom. So if we come under here and build a tube and a conveyor, oops, 2 tubes, or I just missed a conveyor. Now that's connected to the bottom, and we can continue to send stuff out here. The nice thing is, as we build our ship, we can leave an opening at the top if we want to, so we could get into the top. Or there's other things we can do. We can put, so there's a couple other blocks, and I know I'm spending a lot more time than I was expecting on this. But we have a collector, so we could put a collector on the top. And so if we did that, now anything that falls down, oops, wrong button. We could have things, basically we can use that to fuel the ship. We can put things into the ship with that. Now for a miner, usually you want to get stuff out of it, so that's not really all that useful, but you know, there's a lot of really cool options. So let's finish building this just real quick so I can show you how it works. We don't need a whole lot on here, we just need propulsion now, and that's basically it. So let's just build this out. Let's see, so let's go. And you need propulsion in every direction. So let's do that, and that. Yeah, actually I probably should have put it there. There. And which way do I want to rotate this? There. There. And we need side to side. So we got up, down, left, right, forward, and we need backwards, and that should be it. I like having a lot of side to side. Maybe we put one more. That way. Do one more of those. Now we just need that right by our head. Okay, and if we want to, we could, you know, fill all this in. Not 100% necessary, but thanks to the mirroring, it actually doesn't take that long. And there we go, a decent little mining ship, if I remembered everything. Oh, and one last thing we might want, one final, or a couple final landing gears. Actually, you know what? Let's just take off first. Okay, so we'll use P to turn off our landing gear, and then T to get out. We didn't have our jetpack on, so we fell, which is fine. And then we want, where's the landing gear? This. So let's yeah, that's probably fine. Okay. There we go. Now we have our miner. Now we can use the drill manually by assigning it to a button like that. Let's just fly over here. We can fly in third person too if we want. Let's see our beautiful ship. It handles quite nicely actually. And the drills themselves have, I think they have a little bit of ore detector in them. You have to get really close. So the other option, jump out. That loud noise was our suit coming on. And come in and add an ore detector. Actually, I want that as well. What does it look like? There we go. It looks a lot like the spotlight. Let me just get rid of all these. Put the ore detector there, put the spotlight there. And yeah. Cool. Now we can see, and we can see what type of ore we have. And I haven't really gotten particularly good at figuring out how to read it. Basically, it helps to just know the colors and stuff. So I know iron is the darker colored one here. Wow, that was kind of... This miner might end up being a little difficult to control. Problem is, it's only going to be good at mining the surface of things, because it's this big box with just two drills on the front of it. And it's going to move around quite a bit. So there's other designs you can use for one if you want to tunnel. As you can see, you got lots of rocks flying all over this place. So it doesn't collect all of them. But if we go into our inventory, we can see that the drills are collecting. We got some silicon, or silicone, depending on what you prefer, iron ore, and we have our cargo container. Since we hooked it up via conveyors, a lot of that stuff is going into there. For some reason, it doesn't all go into there. I haven't really quite figured out what causes it to go in and what doesn't, but most of it does. And it just gives us more storage. So that's basically how that works. Now, as the last thing, as we enter towards 30 minutes here. Oh, I hit that. Okay. Last thing I want to kind of show you is there is a lot of cool options for automation. So, whoa, man, this thing is very gyroscopy. Reacts a little too quickly. So let's just kind of, a lot of times it's easier to land this way. As you get close enough for the landing gear to lock on, it turns yellow, you get P, it turns green, so lock it in. So we have all the ore. We could manually take it in and put it into the refinery over there. Or what we could do is we could go to here and use the connector. It doesn't work exactly the way you would think it might. But we can get rid of that. We can flip it around. And now let's say, kind of before, we're right in between blocks here, aren't we? Well, let's do this one. It'll probably still work. Actually, we can do... There's ways to get around some of this stuff. So you don't have to be super exact. But let's put in collector now. Now we can put 2 in if we just didn't want to have to be super exact. Or we could put it lower and put in a ramp so the stuff would roll down the ramp. Let's just put in 2 for now. Then let's... Oh, jetpack. Do I not have my dampeners on? Dampeners provide friction, so when you stop moving, you stop pressing the movement key, you stop, or you can have them off, and then you keep your inertia, which will save fuel, especially in survival, when you use fuel to do everything. Ah, Okay, so those come out here. Let's quickly connect them with some conveyors. Actually, let's just take it out to the side here for now. So it's easier just to kind of see what's going on. We need to move stuff up to the refinery anyway, so we need to go up 2 more. Okay. 8. There we go. So they all turn yellow, so we know they're hooked up. And if we look at really any control panel, we can check and see that the refinery does have its conveyor system on. That's awesome. So now all we need to do is come into... Oh, that's not very helpful. A lot of times I have something that has a control panel on the outside really close by, so I can be walking around, just come up to something, use the control panel. I could come to the front and hop in, use it that way, but like something like, you know, just the container itself, if I hit K on here, then from here I can go into the control panel, and we can tell our... Where's the collector? Oh, the connector. So what we can do is we can tell this to collect everything that it's connected to. So all that ore, whether it's in a drill or it's in the container, will be collected into the connector. Okay, so if we look at the inventory, we've got a medium cargo container, drill, they all have stuff in them. We hit collect all, and now it's all in the connector, which is kind of silly because it's a lot more than the connector can store, but I think it's because we're in creative. Now, I can turn that off if I want to, or I could leave it on so it's continuously just always putting stuff into the connector. Now I can tell it to throw it out. If we look here, there we go. So it's dropping out there thanks to our gravity generator. It's going down, otherwise it would slowly drift through space out the back. And if we check our refinery, we'll see that it's putting it into the refinery, and the refinery is on. So it's automatically going to refine anything we put in there. It's going to start with the stuff in the front. So you can automate a lot of stuff. You can connect up a similar way to put all the stuff from the refinery into the assembler as well. You can also connect it to container storage, so that once you make stuff in the assembler, it automatically put it in storage for you, and so on and so forth. You can also have it through a connector shoot it out into a cargo ship that has collectors to automatically load the cargo ships with goods. So there's a lot of cool stuff, automation you can do already in this game. So you're not constantly doing inventory management, which I think is neat. I loved redstone in Minecraft and loved making a lot of stuff with redstone. But you still had a lot of, which was cool to automate going in and out of stuff, but you had a lot of inventory management stuff that I don't like to do. So I'm over 30 minutes, which is a bit long, especially for a first look at a game. But let's look at creative. Let's look at some of the cool stuff you can do. And of course, you know, you have a lot of other options. You have Gatling guns, rocket launchers you can put on your ships, different levels of armor. You have windows, so you can make some really cool space stations or ships with large cockpits that you can see out and sit in. You have grinders that I can't remember if I showed you guys or not, but kind of the... I don't think I did. I did another version earlier that I had to stop recording on, but you have different levels of finish in this game. So, like, grinding is obviously the opposite of building. And as you can see there, we have a percentage on the right-hand side. But as you build things, actually it's easier to see with something like this large block here. So it takes these steel plates to make it, and it has different levels of construction. So the first level is going to still take some materials to build, is going to be like this wireframe, the tubing. And so in survival mode, you would build something pretty much completely out with just the very base necessities. And then the block will store, come in with your, oh, I grabbed the wrong thing. I grabbed this is if you want to mine an asteroid yourself, which I don't want to do. I want to weld. So you would build it, you'd place the blocks, and it would just maybe take, if it's a small block, one steel plate, let's say, to put it there, and you'd end up, you know, building the wireframe of your ship. Then you come along and you'd weld it. And if you see that red line, that's a threshold for whether a block is functional. So I mean, this has mass, it has these steel plates in it. I can walk on it, which is fine. But it's not, it doesn't look finished until it gets above that threshold. And then obviously if it gets damaged, it doesn't get completely, you know, it doesn't look, you know, it'll get maybe warped or something, but it'll work until it gets down past that threshold level. So if we're talking about something like a drill, right, the drill will still work until it goes below that red line. Or if you're building it, you only have to build it up to that red line, but it'll be very fragile and it might stop working if it gets damaged. So one, that's you know, that's pretty cool. So, you know, we have our ship here. But for survival, that's going to take a long time to build stuff. You see that you have to weld every single piece, everything, and the more complex it is, the longer it takes. But that also shows you kind of the idea of what sort of resources it takes to build these things. So you have to build, you have to assemble them in the assembler, the computer, the motor, the tubes, the steel plate, make it out of the metal that you get from the refinery, and other various resources there as well. And then you can build these things. So I will be doing some survival. Let me know if you want to see that. You know, kind of what is your threshold for how much crap you're willing to watch. I think I'd have to do quite a lot of editing to make survival worth putting on my channel. And right now I don't bother with editing. I record directly into an encoded file and I pop it up on YouTube. If I had to do a bunch of editing, I'd be putting out a whole heck of a lot less videos. But there you go. That's Space Engineers. I hope you like it. I will show you a little bit of survival, I'm sure. But I haven't messed around with it myself, and that's what I'm going to go do now. So thank you all for watching. Once again, please let me know if this is a game you're interested in seeing more of. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.